Welcome to the Rapid City Public Works Committee meeting for December 9th, Tuesday, 2014. I'd like to begin this meeting with a roll call and determination of quorum, please.
Estes. Doyle. Roberts. Scott. Wright. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Now is the time to adopt the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda, or if any council member or committee member has an addition, subtraction, or modification to any of the items, I'll entertain a motion at this time. I've got a motion to adopt the agenda by Doyle, second by Estes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. The agenda has been adopted. Now is a time for general public comment. This is a time for members of the public to discuss or express opinions or concerns with any item that is currently not on the agenda. Any action on an item brought up that's not on the agenda will not be considered at this meeting unless the committee members want to place it on the agenda with a unanimous vote. Currently, I have no speaker request forms for general public comment. Am I missing anyone? For any items not on the agenda? Seeing none, we're going to move on to public comment for consent items 1 through 18. Now's the time for public comment on consent items 1 through 18. I currently do not have any speaker request forms for consent items. Am I missing anyone? Seeing none, we're going to move on to consider consent items 1 through 18. Are there any committee members that would like to have any of the items removed for separate consideration? Chair recognizes Jerry Wright.
16, please.
Any other items to be removed from the consent calendar? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the remaining balance. Second. I've got a motion by Doyle to approve consent items 1 through 18 except item number 16. Second by Estes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 16. Item number 16 is to approve the amendment 15-002 to the 2015 through 2018 Transportation Improvement Program. Chair recognizes Alderman Wright.
Make a motion to approve. I'd like to retain the floor, please.
I've got a motion by Wright to approve item number 16, second by Estes. Alderman Wright, you've got the floor.
Thank you. I want to use this as an opportunity to stress the importance that the city and all of us be involved with the funding of the gas tax release discussions at the state level and the federal level because of the shortfall in the not only the federal highway but our state funding. And I think that we also need to use this as an opportunity to talk to our legislators and possibly getting some local road and street money through the gas tax. So I think it's just time to bring some sunlight onto this and get us involved, not only through our staff but politically, those of us that are elected, to talk to our legislators and so forth and ask for assistance. And I know some of them have said they would appreciate our support. I said you'd really get it if you helped us get some money. With our shortfall in needs and our needs exceeding our money, there's no question we could use additional revenue. I think it's an appropriate way to go. So thank you. I support the issue.
Thank you, Alderman Wright. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We are now on to the public comment for non-consent items, items 19 through 21. I currently do not have any speaker request forms for non-consent items 19 through 21. Am I missing anyone? Seeing none, public comment is closed. We're moving on to consider items 19 through 21. Item number 19 is the Bid Board Downtown Lighting Project presentation. And once the speaker addresses the podium, if you could please state your name, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm Sandra Schwan. I'm the president of the Bid Board, and we're going to show you our presentation that was put together for the project we currently have in progress. As you're all aware, the bid was put into place to support Main Street Square, and they had notified the Bid Board that they no longer need the funding for the square. And in order to assess the bid, there has to be a project. And so we reviewed several different projects that we thought would improve our downtown. And the one that the board came to was a downtown lighting project. In order to get the project completed quickly so that keeps the costs down and none of the fixtures become obsolete before it's done, our intention was to present the project to the Vision Committee to ask them to fund the project, and then the bid would repay that 50% of the cost of the project over a period of time, 10 or 12 years, I'm not exactly sure the period of time. That would be something we would have to work out with the city finance officer to determine how that would work out. But we want you to see the presentation that was put together by the architectural and engineering firm that we selected for the project, so you understand the scope of it. Thank you.
The Business Improvement District Lighting Project aims to improve street and pedestrian lighting to correct critical deficiencies in our downtown by replacing existing street lights and adding pedestrian lights along Main Street and St. Joseph Street from east to west boulevards. This is 2 miles of street lighting, 10 blocks each way, and nearly 400 lights.
I'm Sandy Schwan. I'm the president of the bid board. How we selected it is actually threefold. One is the pedestrian safety. There are numerous studies that say that successful downtowns, revitalized downtowns, have to be pedestrian friendly. So that was the number one reason we selected this project, is because better lighting makes it more pedestrian friendly. The second one is that it creates a continuity to our downtown. The lighting needs to be consistent, we feel, from one end to the other. It says to the visitor, this is our downtown district. And the third reason is that it encompasses both zones. There's 2 zones in the bid district, Zone 1 and Zone 2. This project helps both zones, and we thought that was also very important this time around.
This is the corner of 1st and Main Street now. Our goal looks something like this: bright, friendly spaces, rich with color and texture that feel welcoming and comfortable. 20 years from now, this project will have spurred development and supported existing businesses along these corridors. This lighting project invests in infill in the secondary areas of downtown, reaffirming our commitment to the success and vitality of the heart of our community, downtown Rapid City. Please look at that image of current lighting along Main Street. It is just too dark. It's difficult to see the pedestrians, you don't see the true colors of the streetscape, and the lights themselves are sparse and underwhelming. Let's take a closer look at the existing conditions.
Lighting along these corridors is a mixture of styles, lamp types, fixture types, pole types, and illumination levels and colors. The majority of existing light poles were installed in the 1990s, and while they met the lighting requirements of that era, current conditions are deficient. We find that there are inconsistent lighting levels, that the walking environment feels unsafe in many areas, and that while some improvements have been made, lighting is not currently part of a unifying theme throughout downtown. There are things to learn from the existing lighting. The corners of 6th and 7th Streets and their pedestrian-friendly lighting contribute to the sense of arriving downtown. And the fixtures on Kansas City Street make a beautiful daytime streetscape. Downtown is booming. On summer nights, you will find thousands of Rapid City residents and visitors downtown enjoying our city. Winter evenings downtown are bustling with shoppers, entertainment, and activities for the whole family. Downtown has become the place to be year-round in Rapid City.
Well, when it's dark out and it's not lit well, and you're walking down the street as a female by yourself, it's a little scary, I guess, or uncomfortable.
Obviously, the existing lighting is only working where it has been fixed. So let's look at 4 key factors: safety, character, efficiency, and economic development. We will walk through these and then talk about the specifics of this project, the cost, and how you can help. The first point is that better lighting creates a vibrant and walkable downtown district that simply feels safer for people.
A comfortable walking environment needs other people, street furnishings, activities, and great destinations. Lighting is a critical aspect of the complete street. During the day, it signals the character of the district through style and ornamentation. In the evening, the quantity and quality of light tells us that it is a pedestrian environment and that we can feel safe and secure. We feel secure when we can see each other clearly, and when drivers can see pedestrians. Statistically, 70% of all pedestrian vehicle accidents happen at night, and 32% of pedestrian vehicle fatalities occur between 8 p.m. and midnight. We feel safe when we don't need to watch the ground for trip hazards and can clearly see and move around obstacles. We feel safe when we can see down the street to our destination, and our mental map of the area is supported by what we see. Currently, the perception of safety is a real barrier to people walking downtown in the evening.
So basically, the students that I've talked with, they do not walk downtown. They, no matter what, they drive. They try to find a parking spot anywhere they can. They'd rather do that than walk.
The key to a crime-free community is to have a healthy and vibrant community. So the more efforts towards downtown revitalization that occur, it has a synergistic effect, and the ideal end outcome from a public safety standpoint would be reduced crime and disorder in our downtown area.
The second point is that better lighting creates a comfortable and inviting downtown.
This project will transform the street character by both adding ornamental fixtures throughout the downtown and by providing streetscape lighting as planned for 20 years ago. Current lighting is designed for vehicular traffic, so it illuminates the drive lane. The new lighting will also illuminate the sidewalks and building facades, enriching the whole experience of the city. Roger Brooks reminded us of the worldwide popularity of walking and shopping in a pedestrian environment. Our mission is to make it easier in Rapid City. How far do we like to walk? Well, preferably as little as possible. The rule of thumb is that people will walk about 1,500 feet or 3 blocks to a destination. But when your destinations multiply and overlap, suddenly walking nearly a mile feels effortless. People will walk further in a unified district. This means that we can take advantage of the underutilized parking in these peripheral areas and ease the demand for parking in downtown by making what we already have more inviting and available.
I'm Dave Davis from Rapid City. Really, to me, it's about the aesthetics. It's one thing to have the light so I'm very comfortable that anybody can walk up and down the street, but it's even more so that when I walk up and down the street with my friends or anyone else, that we feel that this is a place we want to be. It's not some stark, bright orange light, but rather a comfortable place that is inviting and says, come downtown, be part of the heart of Rapid City.
Our third point is that this project fits into our community's development strategy and efficiently uses our investment dollars. It is a long-planned and affordable lighting project.
Since much of the existing lighting is aged and inconsistent, this project is an infrastructure maintenance and upgrade project. Let's highlight some of the other projects in the downtown area that have a lighting component. This is an aerial view of downtown from the southwest. Note the highways to orient yourself. This project connects across the entire district and has a significant impact on the perception of where downtown begins and ends, as Main Street and St. Joseph Street are primary connectors through downtown going east-west. This project will help define the downtown district as a whole. The best news is that we can do it efficiently.
The forefathers that designed this 20 years ago had always intended that there would be pedestrian lights on the streets, on these particular 2 streets from East to West Boulevard. And they actually installed spare conduits underground and labeled them for future pedestrian lights, which is a great thing. That places a lot of our infrastructure needs already in the ground, and what we need to do now is put lights where they intended them to be installed.
Did you hear that? We do not need to dig up the entire street or sidewalks for this project. The existing underground conduit, wiring, controls, and the existing pole bases of many of the lights will be reused. Therefore, we are able to minimize costs and reduce the risks of unknowns that are typically associated with infrastructure projects. In fact, the contractors can move down the street installing 1 junction box and 1 light at a time. The result? Nearly 65% of the project cost will actually be spent on the construction and installation of the lights and features. Normally, most utility project costs are associated with grading and underground infrastructure. To top it off, since we're not digging up the streets or sidewalks as much, business and shopping inconveniences will be minimized. This project is truly a win-win. Our fourth point is that this project is investment in our entire downtown district and helps create the conditions for continued downtown revitalization.
Everyone feels the new energy downtown. Rapid City Downtown Association reports phenomenal growth in the past 3 years. They count every visitor to Main Street Square, and the trend line is straight up growth. This is not an accident. Years of planning made this happen.
Right now, that lighting project would be something that would absolutely enhance everything we see in our community. We see a lot of action coming through our downtown that we didn't see before. Revitalization is the key to that, and sustainability becomes a real key to that. Sustainability, like the lighting project for walkability, becomes a real key to the next 10 years.
Lighting is part of the infrastructure that sets the base conditions for economic development and supports the other investments we make in our city. This project continues the development that built Main Street Square and the promenade connection to the Civic Center. Reaching east and west, this project is win-win. It supports the existing businesses in the project area by strengthening their connections within downtown and encourages new infill and development in the area, energizing the economic engine that drives the city.
Safety, character, efficiency, and economic development. What does that mean for our streets? Our engineers have studied the project area and have developed plans for each of the blocks affected. If you have questions, those are available online or from a project representative. Informational handouts are also available.
The preliminary design report has been issued to the city, and we are ready to get started on the project.
So let's take a look at what's involved. The new lights will be similar to what we see in some places downtown. The existing Cobra heads will be replaced by a Type L teardrop fixture on a decorative pole with an acorn facing the sidewalk. Double acorn lights similar to Kansas City Street will fill in the blocks. The heads on existing intersection lights will be replaced with a cutoff box fixture, and ornamental pedestrian lighting will be added to every intersection in the project area. While every block is a little different, we can understand what is involved by looking in detail at the sample block on St. Joseph Street. This aerial perspective gives us a view of St. Joseph Street. First, the fixtures on the existing intersection lights are replaced. The mid-block lights are replaced with the teardrop fixtures. The gaps are filled with the double acorn fixtures. This is necessary to illuminate the sidewalks and facades. Finally, the pedestrian scale lighting is added to the corners. This is complete street lighting. On the street, we will notice the quality of light as much as the fixtures. This is the image from the beginning of the presentation at First and Main Street. This is what this project will add. Here are a few additional artist renderings.
The Business Improvement District is serious about partnering with the city and proposes to share the project cost equally. Estimated at $3.9 million, this project provides better lighting that downtown needs immediately. The Business Improvement District has committed to providing nearly $2 million and are stepping up to the plate to make sure this project will happen.
The Rapid City Bid Board, the Downtown Improvement District, is really looking forward to working with the City of Rapid City, the engineering department, and getting this project off the ground and started. It's a project that isn't on the city's radar for 10, 15, maybe even 20 years from now. We think it needs to be done now, and we're happy to work with them to get it done and improve our downtown district.
Rapid City has a new heartbeat, a rhythm that fulfills the promise that downtown is a fun place to go and be. From a human perspective, we want a safer downtown. From an economic perspective, we want to expand the comfortable walking atmosphere, fostering development throughout the district. From a planning perspective, we want to support the community needs that come along with strong destinations. From a business perspective, we want to generate growth and opportunities throughout our downtown. This lighting project is the next step for downtown Rapid City. We are really excited about this project and are ready to get started on it. We hope you are too. If you want to see the concept locations planned for the fixtures, there are block-by-block, large-scale plans available for your review.
Chair recognizes Alderman Wright.
What currently is the revenue from the bid fund, annual?
I don't know the exact figures right now, but I believe last year was $190,000.
I guess we could discuss this Monday night, but I'm curious, is the area, downtown area, willing to finance this thing through the bid?
Well, we've talked to some of the downtown business owners, if that's your question, and most of the ones that we've talked to like the idea. Most of the bid board members are obviously business owners downtown, and so the ones we have spoke to are very much in favor of it because it supports both zones, and that was one of the things when we had some meetings about what to do with the bid project money next was they wanted something that would support both Zone 1 and Zone 2. We haven't had full-scale meetings with downtown businesses yet because we felt that that was a little premature until we have some of the financing issues at least considered, and then we would have some public meetings to get input on them. But for the most part, the downtown is supportive of the project.
So before we go on, I'll just need a motion to acknowledge this presentation as it is today. Just for some clarifying points on this, the Vision Fund Ordinance 6018 has already been amended, and the current Vision Fund process requires a committee review. The committee hasn't even been set up at this point. So there would be no action unless you were looking at a different funding source besides the Vision Fund at this point. So this presentation was being brought forward to kind of let the public and let the City Council know what was being thought of for the downtown, the next step for the downtown bid board. So if you still have the floor, Alderman Wright.
I guess how we're going to pay for it, or how it gets paid for is my number one question, and I guess we'll just leave it at that, and we can talk about it maybe Monday night or as time evolves. We don't have to do it all today, but how it gets paid for is a concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Alderman Estes.
Thank you, Chair. I make a motion to acknowledge and like to keep the floor. Foods, get a second.
I've got a motion by Estes to acknowledge the bid board downtown lighting project presentation and a second by Roberts. And Alderman Estes, you still have the floor.
Thank you. If I could ask Ms. Schwan a question. And I believe, I mean, this is kind of redundant, but I believe when I heard right off the bat was a test balloon you flew up is you're looking for the city to fund it, and then through your bid would you're proposing this as a 50-50 project, and you guys would reimburse us through your bid board for your half. Was that kind of
correct? That's our proposal. Correct.
That's what you're looking for. Okay. Thank you. Now my next question. This spurs something I want to ask our parks, and you might be the wrong guy, but I have a question for you if I could.
Mr. Jeff Bigler from our Director for our Parks and Recreation Department is approaching the podium.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I should have stated this fully. Thanks, Chair. I noticed in their presentation they talk about the lighting enhancing the ability to maneuver obstacles in the sidewalk, and I think we have a beautiful downtown as it is. But years ago, I don't remember when it was when they did the street corners and did the grates and the trees. I'm sure they picked whatever tree least impacts and causes sidewalks to heave. But as I walked this area just a couple weeks ago, I noticed that some of the more mature trees there, it sure raised in heck with our sidewalks. And what are we going to do about that? I mean, is there a better species of tree to use?
Well, yeah, I think so, and I think that the entire downtown, with landscaping in mind, needs to be looked at both cooperatively with the downtown association. A lot of those trees that were put in the sidewalk with the tree grates around them are no longer appropriate for those locations, and they're going to have to be removed and either relocated or paved over those areas, those particular areas. One that I can think of that comes to mind right away is right near Tally's, where there's one in the sidewalk, and there's very little room to maneuver around it. It's where they have their outdoor patio seating. So that is something that is going to be looked at. All of those locusts that are on the corner have outgrown their location, and that's something that is going to need to be looked at, I think, downtown-wide in terms of perhaps putting together a plan for retreeing those areas.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for the latitude. I kind of wandered off here a little bit, but anyway, I yield.
Thank you. Just want to clarify, anybody watching and for the general audience here, that the landscape was not currently part of the bid board's presentation. They're only looking at a lighting project from the bid board. So, but good conversation and something to be considered if we're going to go ahead and take a look at that, because the presentation did present some landscape or some floral options as well. So I currently have a motion on the floor and a second. Chair recognizes Alderman Wright.
To continue my earlier discussion, the financing, I think that if we feel that this is a viable project, we need to sit down with the bid board and DRC or whoever's involved with it and talk about how this would be paid for, because we obviously have needs that far exceed our means currently discussed. So I'd like that to happen after Monday night, and we'll just take it on for information, but thank you.
Currently have a motion on the floor to acknowledge the presentation. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're now on to item number 20, to approve returning the Fairmont Recycle Site for South Rapid City by Alderman Ron Weifenbach. Currently, Alderman Weifenbach is not available, but we will go to Alderwoman Charity Doyle.
Make a motion to move to council without recommendation, considering he is not here to present.
I've got a motion to move item number 20 to the City Council meeting on Monday night without recommendation. Second by Roberts. Any further discussion? We do have a follow-up that Mr. Carl Murbach is here to present to us. So if you wouldn't mind identifying yourself, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Carl Murbach. I am superintendent of the City Solid Waste Division. I have with me today my supervisor of the Collection Division, Tracy Gannon, who is responsible for these sites on a day-to-day basis. He is here along today for support. The motion before the council was to reopen the Fairmont site. And again, I want to reiterate that our solid waste staff does not recommend the reopening of the Fairmont site at this time. We believe the decision that was made to relocate this to the landfill entrance was the right decision at the time. However, we are aware that there are some concerns both by citizens and by staff of some of the safety concerns at the landfill entrance, and I wanted to take just a couple minutes today to address what we have been looking at from that standpoint. If we can. This is standing at the main gate to the entrance of the landfill. One of the things we did during our construction is we relocated the scale house about twice as far back from the road. Where I was standing right now taking this picture, this is about where the old scale house was. So there was not much of a zone there for cars to stage. One of the things that the council did ask us to look at was how often does that back up past this point here? Off to your right-hand side, that is the entrance into the Citizen Campus or the 24-hour drop-off area. Unfortunately, when we began this the first part of October, traffic was already starting to slow down for the season. Only the first 2 Saturdays in October did we see traffic for about a 10-minute period that backed up past this location. Oops. This is standing at the entrance there, so you can get a little better idea of, there isn't a lot of distance for people to travel in before they turn in, but still is a concern. One of the major considerations is the traffic on Highway 79. I apologize for the top picture, it's a little dark, but the top picture there is looking south. The bottom picture is looking back to the north at the entrance to the landfill. One of the problems that we have is where that turn lane is located. If you've got, say, a large truck pulling in or traffic there, you cannot see around that to turn back to the north if you're turning back towards town out of the landfill. One of our proposals, and again, we still have a lot of work to do since this is a state highway, is to get together with Department of Transportation and take a look at moving that farther to the west. In the bottom picture there, it would be, again, to the left-hand side. Where that car is entering the landfill right now, that would be pretty much a no man's land there, just a striped area. That entrance would be where the emergency lane is and farther on in, but that would allow anybody turning out to have a clear vision down to the north there with the traffic coming there. One of the things that happens in this area at Campbell Street, the speed limit does go from 45 to 55 miles an hour, and then farther up to the south it does go to 65, so the traffic speed is a concern in this area. We would also work with DOT to look at some additional signage, some flashing lights. Again, that's going to take a little bit of time to be able to work with those entities there, or at least that entity. Again, we talked about the existing Fairmont site. This is what it looked like yesterday afternoon with the settling, the mess up there. To rebuild on this site just is not cost effective at this time. If you take a look at an overall view of where our existing sites are, you can see where the landfill is down on the bottom, Fitzgerald Stadium out to the west, and up to the north side is our West Boulevard drop-off sites. These are our existing 3 drop-off sites that we do have. This does not cover every area of the city. You've got areas such as Red Rocks, the new annexed countryside, places north of the interstate there. Not everybody has a drop-off site in their backyard. Although we feel these are good locations, these have been here for a long time, and we do not want to see these change at this time. Just to give you a little idea of our current operating costs for these locations, between labor, fuel, we roughly have two and a half full-time employees that are dedicated to these sites. Fuel and diesel, that's a long time at 4 miles per hour, or 4 miles per gallon diesel fuel there. Maintenance of the sites and the trucks, and capital expenses to accrue the replacement of the trucks, the containers. Our average for a year is around $360,000 just for the operation of these 3 sites. That is what I have today. I do have some documentation that we will place on the council agenda, this presentation and a memo from myself, but at this time I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Carl. I do have a motion on the floor to send this to council without recommendation, and it has been seconded. Chair recognizes Alderwoman Doyle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question for Mr. Murbach, if I may.
Yes.
You said the $360,000 was the annual operations for all 3 sites?
That's for all 3 sites, yes.
And is it fair to say that the Fairmont site would be less costly due to its proximity to the landfill?
Well, that would be an additional, we would not, if we were to go back to Fairmont, that would be an additional cost for the operation of that site from an operation cost standpoint, plus whatever capital would be needed to upgrade that.
So you're referencing the new Citizen Campus,
That is
West Boulevard and
with the new
Fitzgerald.
Citizen
That's
Campus.
the 360.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Do you know what Fairmont site was on its own?
The additions there, again, personnel and that's going to be a fuel cost primarily of having to travel back and forth to that site. But again, we're looking at a distance of about 2 miles from there and back. It wouldn't necessarily change any of the operating costs too much other than fuel. I would say that would probably be in maybe the $8,000 range to, even though it's 2 miles, that's a lot of trips back and forth to the landfill just in fuel alone.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Alderman Wright.
How many rollouts do we pull per year? Yard waste, containers, cardboard, everything. Do you know?
I didn't bring that information along with me. We do have that information. It's tough to take a look at this past year just because of the carryover from the fall 2000 or the October 2013 storm. This was an exceptional year with everybody still cleaning up this spring, but that is a number that I can get.
Good, and I'd like to have that Monday night if we talk about it, because I think the people need to realize this is a lot of money in a way, $360,000. But each container is 20 plus cubic yards, which is probably anywhere from 10 to 20 pickup loads. So whatever number of containers that we are pulling, we'd be pulling an equal number by an exponential number, not exponential, but a multiplier of pickups that would have to go to the landfill, because we do have a yard waste ban in effect, and we do have a recycling and cardboard program. So I think the perspective is that we need to show the people that that's this cost, but it's a dollar well spent, and here's what we do. And that's the message that needs to be clear. So I'd like to have that information Monday night.
No, what we do not have, we have the total number of containers. We do not necessarily track specifically what comes from each location. We are looking to start that at the first of the year, so we know how many come from north. Just by experience, we have the most containers out at the west side. We'll have, just from a yard waste standpoint, 6 containers out at the west side, 4 up at the north side on West Boulevard and Anamosa, and then 5 down at the landfill entrance. And again, that's just based upon our experience and the needs for those areas.
I'm not worried about the numbers from each site. If you got it, great, but the total containers of different products by year would be good. I know we had them up through 2010 or thereabouts, but it is significant. But anyway, thank you.
I currently do not have any other committee lights. I do have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 20 is being sent to City Council meeting Monday night without recommendation. We're now on to the final item we've got for the Public Works agenda, and it's item number 21. And this is a discussion on the conditions at Ridgewood Mobile Home Court located at 600 Lindbergh Avenue, being brought forward by Alderman Roberts. And the chair will recognize Alderman Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I brought this forward because of the fact that we have a trailer court off of Haynes Avenue in North Rapid that we've been having a tremendous amount of problems with as far as our underground infrastructure. I've been getting lots and lots and lots and lots of calls from people up there. And it's not just the calls that worries me about this, but the conditions that the people up there are living in. Right before Thanksgiving, and I can't tell you the exact number of people that live in this court, but it's well over 100, I believe. And they were without water for 4 days. A lot of these people are disabled and are on a very limited income and really have nowhere else to go. So they're pretty much stuck where they're at. But since that time, 2 other times that I know of, the water has gone off, including the day before yesterday when it was off for, according to the calls I got, roughly 12 to 14 hours again. So I just wanted to bring this up so we as a council can start discussing what we're going to do to hold people that are making our citizens live in these kind of conditions accountable. So it looks like none of the staff wants to say anything. This is kind of a difficult situation. I think we're going to have to, go ahead, Terry, if it's all right with the chairwoman.
Yes.
I was just going to point out that the mobile home court owner, Mr. Rand Williams, is here if you'd like to ask him any questions specifically in regard to this issue. Back to your point, the water main break that occurred here around Thanksgiving did occur in the mobile home court itself. As far as a permitting standpoint and contractor standpoint, they did meet all of our conditions. Keep in mind they're working outside the right-of-way, so there's no right-of-way permit. They're not required to be a licensed trenching contractor. The contractor was licensed through the state of South Dakota, though, so they did have the appropriate licensing, and they did receive the appropriate permits from the city from that standpoint.
Yeah, I received a courtesy call, Rand Williams, and so I didn't come here prepared to make any presentation, but the concerns you're raising are absolutely legitimate. Would like to just note in terms of the factual situation, I believe it was between 52 and 54 hours that it was out, and that doesn't minimize the impact on the residents, but it was not 4 days. I think it was from Saturday afternoon till Monday evening around 8 o'clock. And the issue that made this, in the 12 years approximately we've owned this, we haven't had any extended period, but we were actually tracing a water leak within the boundaries of the mobile home park, and actually had caused the leak. In turning off that leak and repairing it, there was a leak that emerged at the casino site, and this would have been, early, I think Saturday morning. The city consequently turned that off, and then we had to get locates and repair that site because the 6-inch water service supplies not only the residents of the Ridgestone Mobile Home Park, but of 2 businesses also. So we have subsequently removed the 2 sections of 6-inch steel pipe and replaced those. And of course, we take that responsibility to provide water service absolutely serious. I don't know that the subsequent 12 hours. I just don't think that, anyway. Those repairs have been made. It is a 50-plus-year-old infrastructure, and we regret that extended time frame, but it wasn't one issue, but 2, and this second one will happen to be off the property. But again, we did do those repairs, and again, take that responsibility absolutely seriously. And the point you raise about the residents' options, very often they are limited. This is their primary home residence. We had the kind of public relations issue when an older mobile home park was closed, and the consequences to people's homes and their lives when that happens. And we of course take the responsibility to continue and provide good quality locations for the residents, of not only that park, but of Rapid City. So I'm here to address that, and I appreciate the call that it had been raised, and of course, you receiving calls are very appropriate to bring it to our attention and my attention. So I'm here to discuss that or respond to the issue.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I appreciate that. I know that there have been multiple issues over the years brought to your attention because I have been in the loop on this for over 3 years now. And I know that it's got to be difficult, like you said, with the infrastructure being 50 years old. But I was just curious, are there any plans as far as upgrading maybe your water system and your sewer system, or just patchworking it together as it breaks?
Well, actually, there's a patch and there's a replacement, and basically we've adopted the model of the replacement. When we purchased the mobile home, we'd actually fixed a couple of patches, and there can be different interpretations as to how to fix that. But those sections that are actually in need of repair, by and large, we have no other plans to massively upgrade the mobile home park from the sewer and the water perspective. I think we learned something in terms of that process. The actual personnel we had on site this time, is different than other times. But I guess we'll continue to address that in as responsible and a timely manner as we can. That's my commitment.
Do you know, and you don't have to answer this, but have you ever cameraed your sewer system before to see if there's any major breaks in it or separations?
It's a very dense soil. We've had camera work done at different times, yes, and the actual one that had been kind of reoccurrent, we've actually fixed that, and that was partially involved the cameraing of a portion of that. And I think that issue that had been kind of reoccurrent has been addressed. But portions of it, yes, we have. Of course, that's not an option on the water system, but yeah, portions of the sewer system we have cameraed. In direct answer to your question,
was that I guess it would be the southeast part of the park where the sewer used to back up down there. Is that the part you're talking about?
Yeah, I think that's been addressed, correct. And we have cleanouts built in both sides. And one of the issues that, not an excuse, but we didn't get good mapping system of that infrastructure, and so to a certain extent, we've been dealing with that and, better understanding it as time has gone on.
And when was that fixed? I'm just curious, because it seems like since I've been on the council, every spring we've had problems with that sewer backing up.
Since last spring, I can't give you this precise month, but the reality is we've installed cleanouts on both of those, and so I think that issue should be dealt with. And we have plans to additionally remove some trees that I think are related to root infiltration. Those have not yet been removed, but that is the plan, in addition to address the actual clean-out issue. So,
and I guess that's one of the reasons why I asked you if you cameraed it, because if you're pulling out trees for root infiltration, you probably have broken pipes in there. And that's just a guess. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Williams. I appreciate you answering these questions. And I don't have any more for you. I don't know if anybody on the council does or on the committee.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion. The motion at this time would be to acknowledge the discussion unless anybody else or any other committee member has a direction to direct staff. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to acknowledge the discussion on item number 21.
Second.
I've got a motion by Wright to acknowledge the discussion of the conditions at Ridgewood Mobile Home Court located at 600 Lindbergh Avenue. And I've got a second by Estes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn? Got a motion by Wright to adjourn, second by Roberts. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.